All right, buckle up because today we're diving headfirst into a topic that's got everyone talking, Poland's military buildup. You know, we love digging into geopolitics, and frankly, Poland's been on a roll lately.
On a roll. That might be an understatement.
Okay, maybe more like a full-on sprint. But here's the thing. We're going beyond the headlines today. We're talking deep dive, strategic analysis, the whole shebang.
We're lucky to have this visual politic breakdown as a guide.
Seriously, it completely changed how I see this whole situation.
It's easy to get caught up in the numbers, but what really struck me is the historical context.
Exactly. This isn't just some abstract military spending spree.
For Poland, this is personal.
Yeah, they've been stuck in this geopolitical pressure cooker for centuries.
Talk about being caught in the crossfire.
It's not theoretical. It's like their national identity is built on being ready for anything.
And the numbers tell that story, don't they?
Oh boy, do they ever. We're talking a whopping 5% of their GDP. Gone. Straight to defense.
5%.
A lot, with the goal of a 300,000-strong military.
Bigger than most of their European neighbors combined. It's a bold statement.
It's basically them saying, we are not messing around.
You know, you don't often see this level of commitment to military spending in this day and age, especially in Europe.
Right, like who else is doing this?
You've got South Korea, obviously, staring down a constant threat, and maybe Spain, holding on to that historical military presence.
But Poland, this feels different.
It's a complete outlier.
And here's where it gets really interesting.
More interesting than 5% GDP on tanks.
Oh yeah, way more. Because while the rest of the world is going all in on drones, cyber warfare, that futuristic stuff.
Poland's over here like, hold my pierogi.
Exactly. They're doubling down on good old-fashioned ground forces. Tanks, artillery, boots on the ground.
It's like they're prepping for a land war in Europe, which, let's be honest.
A few years ago, that sounded like a bad History Channel documentary.
Now, it's the reality we're facing.
And it's not just the what, it's the WHY. Poland's strategy is straight out of the Ukraine playbook.
You're right. They've been watching that conflict like a hawk.
Taking notes, I bet.
Analyzing what works, what doesn't.
Learning from someone else's very real, very expensive mistakes.
And adapting their entire military doctrine accordingly.
Like they're saying, okay, this is what we need to counter that.
Precisely. And their shopping list reads like a how-to guide for stopping a modern military in its tracks.
Seriously, tanks. Tanks and more tanks. It's like they're building a steel curtain.
It's about mobility, firepower, and being able to go toe-to-toe with those massive armored columns.
And it's not just the tanks. Artillery, rocket launchers, those HIMARS systems everyone's talking about. They're going all in on the stuff Ukraine desperately needed at the beginning.
They've seen the devastation those Russian artillery barrages can unleash, the way those long-range missiles can cripple infrastructure.
And they're making sure they have an answer for each and every one of those threats.
It's like they're playing chess, anticipating Russia's moves before they even happen. This isn't just reacting, this is preempting.
Okay, you've officially made me want to play Risk now. But seriously, it's like they're preparing for a modern-day curse.
Exactly. That historical parallel is spot on.
Make any attempt at a blitzkrieg so costly from the get-go that it's not even worth attempting.
Precisely. And they're not just relying on brute force. They're blending the old with the new in a fascinating way. Remember that Eastern Shield we touched on?
Yeah, the whole wall concept sounds a bit medieval for the 21st century, doesn't it?
Think less castle walls, more high-tech tripwire. Imagine a network of sensors, anti-drone systems, and enough surveillance to make even the nosiest neighbor jealous.
So it's not just about keeping things out. It's about knowing exactly what's coming your way and when.
Giving them that crucial early warning, time to mobilize those reinforcements, and basically turn the whole region into a very unwelcome surprise for any would-be invaders.
And they're not messing around with those defenses either. Tank traps right alongside all that fancy tech.
That's what makes their strategy so intriguing.
It's like they took a history book, a military manual, and a sci-fi novel, threw them in a blender, and out popped their defense strategy.
It's about creating layers upon layers of defense. You've got those classic deterrents, your tank traps, your trenches to slow things down.
But then you add in the advanced surveillance, the ability to see and react in real time.
It becomes this intricate web that any attacker would have to navigate, and that's assuming they can even get through the initial layers.
So basically, whether it's a medieval siege or a full-on cyber attack, Poland's ready.
They've studied the playbook and they're writing their own chapters.
And speaking of playbooks, I gotta ask, with all this focus on ground game, what about the air and the sea?
Ah, keen observation. This is where Poland's strategy gets really interesting. They know they can't be everything everywhere. They've got those F-35s, top-tier air power, but in limited numbers.
So quality over quantity in the skies.
And they're modernizing their navy, but let's be real, they're not going to outmatch Russia ship for ship. Their focus is on making their strengths, well, even stronger.
They're picking their battles, focusing on what they can control.
And in doing so, they're transforming themselves into a force to be reckoned with. Remember, it's about sending that message of deterrence.
Making the cost of aggression so high that it's not even worth considering. It's like parking a tank on their front lawn with a sign that says, "You've been warned."
It's a bold strategy, no doubt. But you've hit on a crucial point. This isn't just about military hardware. It's about psychology. Deterrence only works if the other side believes you're serious. And Poland is sending a pretty convincing message.
But could there be unintended consequences? I mean, could all this military might actually make things more, unstable?
That's the question, isn't it? It's a bit like a standoff. Both sides sizing each other up, trying to figure out what the other will do.
And nobody wants to back down.
Exactly. And that's where things get, well, a bit unpredictable.
So what you're saying is that Poland's strategy is sound, but there are all these other factors, wild cards even, that could still ignite the situation.
It's a complex web of factors. Military strength is part of it, sure, but there's also economics, international relations, even domestic politics. Everything's connected.
So how does this end?
If I had a crystal ball, I'd tell you. But the reality is, there are no easy answers. The best we can do is look at the facts, understand the motivations at play, and make informed judgments.
And that's what we've tried to do today. We've taken a deep dive into Poland's military buildup, looking at the why, the what, and the what-ifs.
And hopefully our listeners now have a better understanding of this complex situation and the factors that could shape its outcome.
This is why I love these deep dives. We get to explore these multifaceted issues, go beyond the headlines, and really dig into the heart of the matter.
It's about asking the right questions, considering different perspectives, and coming to your own conclusions.
And that's what we hope you'll do. Keep asking those tough questions, keep learning, and keep exploring the world with a critical eye. That's all the time we have for today's deep dive, but the conversation doesn't have to end here. Until next time.